Restaurant waiters often earn more from tips than they do from their hourly wages. This was definitely true for Armando Marquez. Patsy's Pizzeria opened in 1933 and is one of New York City's iconic pizza restaurants. For decades, it has been serving famous New York thin crust style pizza. One of the restaurant's waiters, Armando Marquez, had been working at Patsy's for 9 years. The 27-year-old was working his way through medical school. As a student and employee, Marquez prided himself on being a hard worker. However, one incident in May 2019 would test his patience. May 4th was Saturday, the busiest day of the week for pizzerias. Like his coworkers, Marquez was swarmed with plenty of customers. When a mother and her daughter walked in, he didn't think that anything was unusual. He sat them down and gave them menus. Marquez noticed that the two women were staring at the wall. The restaurant's walls are decorated with portraits of famous figures and patrons, past and present. It is not unusual for customers to explore the wall. When Marquez approached the two women, they ordered 2 slices of New York-style pizza. The three began talking for a bit, and eventually, the mother asked an odd question. Why weren't there more women on the wall? Marquez did not know how to answer that. Some of these portraits had been up for 90 years, and it wasn't like he had decorated the walls. He answered that there were women on the walls, just not where they were sitting. The mother-daughter duo did not seem satisfied with Marquez's answer. When Marquez said that there were some women on the wall, the mother answered, "Not as much as there should be." Marquez was stumped. He had no idea how to respond. Feeling flustered, Marquez decided to diffuse the tension by cracking a joke. He answered, "Well, summer is coming. Probably women don't like to eat pizza as much." Right away, he knew that that was not the correct response. When the mother and daughter received their pizza, they immediately asked for the check. Marquez handed it to them. Having been a waiter at this pizzeria for 9 years, Marquez knew how to handle all different types of customers. But he had no idea what was coming. The next time Marquez looked at their table, the mother and daughter were gone. Before cleaning the table, Marquez looked at the check. He saw that neither of the customers left a tip. Even worse, one of the women left him a note. It said, "Women eat pizza, and by the way, have you heard that women don't leave tips?" Marquez felt terrible, as much of his livelihood depended on tips. But he tucked his emotions away and cleaned the table. While Marquez was cleaning off the table, he noticed a discarded envelope. Clearly, the customers had left something behind. Marquez was about to throw it away when he decided to double-check what it was. When he pulled back the envelope flap, he saw the logo Citibank. Clearly, the customers had left a check on the table. It definitely wasn't a tip, as the note pointed out. They forgot it while leaving the restaurant in a hurry. Even amidst his busy Saturday, Marquez spared a moment to wonder who would wave a check around and not spare a tip for the waiter. Considering how rude the ladies acted towards him, he could have understandably kept the check. Marquez now faced a moral dilemma: return the money to the ungrateful customers, or keep it as his overdue tip? Many people would have done the latter with little hesitation. But Marquez was not a selfish person. Although Marquez could have understandably kept the check, he didn't. He immediately ran out into the street to find the customers and return it. Unfortunately, the two women were nowhere to be found. Marquez did not know their names or any way to contact them. Although it could have been seen as a breach of privacy, Marquez decided to open the envelope. Checks always include the name of the owner, which might have helped him contact the two ladies. When he opened it, he was shocked. The check was for $424,000. Not only did customers leave money behind, but they lost $500,000. Marquez was suddenly in a sensitive and dangerous situation. Who would enter a pizzeria with this much money? Feeling blindsided, Marquez reached out to his boss, Patsy's current owner Frank Brija. When he saw it, the 63-year-old owner only said, "Oh my." The two shocked men debated over what to do about it. "Normally, we just put things left behind in the lost and found box at the back," Marquez later said. "But I wasn't going to do that with almost $500,000. Marquez and Brija decided to research the woman's name, Karen Van Acker, which was written on the check. Brija asked his son, 30-year-old Adem Brija, to Google the name on the check. Surely, if she was a wealthy person, she'd be easy to find. Unfortunately, it wasn't that easy. Unfortunately, Karen Vinacker was not as wealthy as Bridget thought. The 79-year-old mother was a retired social worker. During her retirement, Vinacker spent most of her time volunteering with charities to aid underprivileged women and children. Before Vinacker went to Patsy's, they had spent much of the day hunting for a new condo. Vinacker had just sold her old place and planned to use the $424,000 check as the down payment and more on her new home. Besides her retirement money, Vinacker only had that $424,000. In essence, it was her entire life savings. If Vinacker did not have the check or the money, she would become homeless. Vinacker and her daughter had spent that Saturday house hunting, budgeting, and calling her real estate broker. By the time they got to Patsy's, they felt fairly worn out. Hence, she and her daughter reacted negatively to Markid's joke about the walls. "Well, my daughter's kind of feisty, and she didn't like that," Vinacker said, "so we didn't tip him." The two ladies had no idea that it could come back to bite them until Vinacker realized she had lost the check. Vinacker did not notice the check was missing until the next day. When she unzipped the inner compartment of her purse, she realized that her check had disappeared. Even then, she did not immediately panic. "I figured, it's a check. I'll just go to the bank and ask them to stop it." At Citibank, Vinacker received terrible news. The banker said that because it was a cashier's check, they could not cancel it. They had to wait at least 3 months to discontinue the check, and that was only if someone else didn't cash it. This is when Vinacker started to panic. She had earned much of the money by selling her home, and she couldn't stay with family forever. Without that check, she might have become homeless. Feeling antsy, Vinacker ran up the street to a cafe where she and her daughter had coffee. The cafe did not have the check. Dejected, Vinacker called her real estate broker, who did not pick up the phone, so she left a message. Vinacker then called her daughter, who also could not find the check. She checked her purse, her house, and even her trash can. Nothing. Vinacker felt like she was rapidly running out of options. Vinacker eventually checked Patsy's, but instead of walking into the restaurant, she called them. Unbeknownst to her, she had called the wrong Patsy's. When the incorrect Patsy's said they didn't have the check, Vinacker felt lost. While Vinacker struggled to find her life savings, Markidge and Bridget still worked on returning the check. Since they couldn't find the owner, they decided to enlist some help. They called New York's hometown newspaper for aid. Within minutes, the newspaper employees tracked down Karen Vinacker. They called her from Patsy's asking if she had lost something of great value. She felt so shocked and relieved that she could barely answer. "I can't believe it." "I'm so relieved." "You have no idea." A breathless Vinacker answered on the phone. "I'm jumping in a cab. I'll be there right away." Vinacker immediately hopped in a cab, went to Patsy's Pizzeria to the correct restaurant this time. When Vinacker walked through Patsy's front door, she immediately saw Markidge with her check. Markidge harbored no ill will and returned her check without any fuss. He later said that he was happy she found it. Vinacker was relieved that Markidge decided to return the check, claiming that he was an amazing young man. She and her daughter did not expect to encounter the waiter again. Needless to say, they changed their minds about him with this act of selflessness. Along with returning Vinacker's check and giving her a free pizza, owner Frank Bridget had another surprise for her. He wanted to put her on Patsy's wall. "We're going to take a picture of your day with you, and I'm going to put that on the wall too," the pizza entrepreneur told her. "So there will be one more woman on the wall." Vinacker felt honored. She would join generations of Patsy's regulars and iconic people on that wall. As soon as Vinacker walked through the door, she apologized to Bridget for not tipping Markidge. She claimed that her passive-aggressive note wasn't her best moment. In return, she tried to give Markidge his overdue tip money. Surprisingly, Markidge declined the money. He thought that reuniting her with her life savings was enough of a gift, not only for him, but the entirety of Patsy's staff. His generosity will be remembered. Although Markidge would not accept the extra tip, Vinacker planned to give him a gift certificate to buy education supplies. She knew how much school costs because of her daughter's university fees, and she was thankful for Markidge's help.